Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan here with an Inside the Birds game podcast recap. The Eagles lose again at home to a team with a good quarterback. They fall 27-24. Now, we can say this for the first time, they've been competitive against a team with a really good quarterback for the first time. They were competitive, but at the end of the day, still a loss. And that, to me, I mean, we always do big picture kind of looks at the things, Adam. I mean, a loss is a loss. There's no moral victories. I know people are upset. I do feel like some of the reaction I've seen from the public is that they've at least feel like the coaching staff has learned a little bit more since the first month about the importance of running the ball and stopping the run. But at the end of the day, it's still a loss.
Yeah, they stopped the run in the first half, but when it mattered late in the game, they couldn't stop it. They couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. They were terrible against Herbert. I mean, let's face it, they were competitive, and that the score was competitive. They lost by 3, right. But defensively, it's almost hard to believe against these good passers. Herbert, they never touched him. They just couldn't get to him. I know that they got him on quick drops. That's fine, but overall, they couldn't get to him. Where was the pass rush? There's no question the pass rush is a problem again. Javon Hargrave, who we thought was our first half MVP. I don't want to say by default. For the most part, he's been really, really good, but he was non-existent in this game that we could see. We'll find out what the tape looked like. But my initial reaction was what you said in terms of competitiveness. Yes, they were competitive. They were not competitive against a star quarterback. They were awful, quite frankly.
Right.
But yet, despite all that, we lost by 3. They had a chance to win. We'll get into why.
So does this prove the point, though, that because we heard a lot of criticism against the coaches for the first 6 weeks, and deservedly so, but you obviously have seen a huge philosophical adjustment by Nick Sirianni toward running the ball. After not running the ball at all, he's running the ball and running it effectively. So that's a change, right? And with Jonathan Gannon, you saw the linebacker change to TJ Edwards has helped. They're better against the run. He does bring a safety into the box more. He mixes it up a little bit. He's not perfect, but he's done something differently. And they lost this game. And like you said, they lost it in kind of similar fashion in that the opposing quarterback had no issue moving the ball against them. So doesn't that kind of disprove some people's theory that if this coaching staff had done a better job in the first 6 or 7 weeks, the Eagles would have won one of those games that they lost against Kansas City or Dallas or Tampa? Because I know I said I don't think that they would have won any of those games, even if. So I feel like that argument that I was making holds true, that they're also, you can say what you want about the coaches, it's true, but this team is not talented enough to hang with these other quarterbacks and these other good enough offenses. They're not talented enough to beat them, I should say.
Well, I don't think the defense coordinator helped them. I mean, this is what is it? 5 passers or 4 passers with a where it was either the passer rating was over a certain number.
It's 80% completion. He became the 5th quarterback to have an to complete at least 80% of his passes against the Eagles.
Embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
Right, but you say it didn't help him, but he certainly did things differently in this game than he did against Kansas City and Dallas and Tampa. I mean, you can't deny that.
No, but the problem is they gave up. Here's the problem: they gave up whatever they didn't work. They gave up so much room to Keenan Allen. They gave up so much room in the middle.
Right.
It is a miracle. And then I give Hurts credit. We'll get into him, despite what happened the first 2 series where he didn't play well. I'll be nice about it. We'll explain what they did there. Well, they made a tackle decision, which was very smart. It's played into what you were talking about. But despite all the issues that I have in this game with their coaches, they still hung in there. I give the players credit. They had pretty good resolve. They had a very good chance to win this game. You could say whatever you want, and I know people are frustrated. I totally get it. Very fair. But all that said, they had a chance to win the 4th quarter. This is what we had said on our pregame show. There's a chance that this thing could be pretty tight. We didn't, obviously, they're not giving the answers to the test before the game, but we felt there's certain things they can do. But because of what happened earlier in the game, they made a tactical decision. We'll get into that. But overall, all you could say is they had a chance to win. They didn't do it, but they fought to the end.
Yeah, one of my big picture takeaways is that it's become very disappointing to see that the Linc is no longer a home field advantage for this team. I mean, and then that's not the crowd's fault. I mean, they came, they showed up, they represented, but it used to be that it was very rare, I would think, that a quarterback who had never been to the Linc before. I know Justin Herbert's not a rookie, but it's his first trip to Philadelphia, first experience here, to come here and just not even get touched, not get his jersey dirty, put like 3 balls in total on the ground, and one of them was a spike. Like to think that would happen is crazy. But the home field advantage is gone now. I mean, this team does not feed off the crowd, and it's not able to sustain the crowd because the crowd started off, really well in the first quarter. And I'm not trying to make too much about a crowd. I mean, it's crowds, but the Philadelphia used to be a place where it was tough to come and play because you were going to hear it from the crowd. It was going to be hard for a quarterback because the crowd was going to be so loud to communicate. And that was supposed to make it difficult for the opposing offense. You got to be on a silent count, yada, yada. They've lost all 4 home games, 4. Yeah, 5 in a row going back to last year, and something like 4-8-1 at home since the start of I mean, there's zero home field advantage anymore because the team is not inspired them.
Yeah, well, plus the team's not very good, and that's what we were talking about that in our pregame show on Sunday about. You brought it up the record, and Cosell said it. They're just not very good. The roster's just not good enough. But again, I give the guys credit for fighting till the end. Mm-hmm. It was an entertaining game. I get the frustration part of it. We're going to break the game down completely in a couple minutes here, but I just would say overall, if you're an Eagles fan, you have every right to be disappointed in the loss, but you have to be proud that the team competed to the end. You don't have to be happy with the loss. There are no, Sirianni said it right. There are no moral victories, but for a team that's just has a bottom 10 roster, we know this. This is not a secret.
Right.
They competed against teams clearly better than them. They could have won the game too, but they didn't, and that's that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, based on what you just said, it reminded me, I'm curious to see what the reaction will be this week. Kind of, I always expect the first 24 hours to be very emotional, and that's fine. But what will it be? Because I do know that there were a lot of people that felt that even if a team loses, they just wanted to see a better representation. And you did see that. You're right. They hung tough. There are plenty of good things. I'm not going to say positives because nobody likes to hear that word in a loss, but there were plenty of things that you saw better in week 9 than you saw in week 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, right? So it'll be interesting to see if people are willing to accept that and if they feel that that is a good thing going forward with your next 3 games being Denver, New Orleans, Giants, and then Jets after that, right? So 4 interesting games that you would deem quote unquote winnable, and it'll be interesting to see how the fans feel about that, no doubt. We've been telling you for a while about our friends at BetQL. And listen, they will give you an advantage over your sportsbook. If you just download BetQL, it's the only app you're going to need to make smart bets. They've got a best bet computer model that we've been telling you about. It scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game, every sport, all the reasons why you should make the bet. And for the loners who don't like anybody outside influencing them, they've got their own model, their own research tools for you. Team summaries, sharp data, line movement, lineup and injury, breaking news, even a leaderboard so you can track your success. So just go to App Store or Google Play Store, download BetQL. There's a website called try.betql.co/ITB. You can go there too, enter the discount code ITB, and you'll get 25% off at your checkout. And of course, they've got a sportsbook offers page that if you live in one of the eligible states, you can claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. So don't miss out on your chance to beat your sportsbook this football season using BetQL. All right, why don't we start off first with our offensive look, Adam? And I feel very comfortable saying this. Well, not 100%, but pretty comfortable saying it, unless he gets a different quarterback and we see something totally different next year. To me, Nick Sirianni is not a quote unquote a schemer. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not a guy who's hired though for like when you're the Niners, you hired Kyle Shanahan because you wanted the Shanahan scheme. The Kansas City Chiefs jumped at the chance to get Andy Reid. They knew he's a schemer because they want that. And then he even advanced his own scheme out in Kansas City. I mean, there are certain coaches with reputations. Bill Belichick on defense is considered a schemer. He's going to mix it up. He's going to confuse you. He's going to do things, right? And I'm not trying to knock Nick Sirianni, but I don't see anything. Even when his running game is doing well, he just puts 3 tight ends out there and runs draws up the middle. Like he's got to be a head coach who's a great communicator. and keeps his team together. Maybe kind of like Doug in a little bit more than he's a schemer. Do you feel like you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah. I'm a little bit disappointed with the lack of pre-snap motion. We saw a couple games and where it really worked. And then I don't understand. I know he bristled earlier in the season before he did any of it. And then I think he did it the next game. We were laughing.
Yeah.
But overall, this was an interesting approach. Like, first series, Hurts is really off. I mean, really off. And you saw the pass to Goddard now that I have to see what the coaching tape looks like. The scramble to Goddard. I'm pretty certain there was a pass over the middle and he bailed. This is what Jason Avant talked about in his tape study, that Hurts bails too much on plays when the initial read's there, and Cosell backed it up. He missed the bomb to Goddard. We need to find out where we need a little bit more information on that one. The ball should have been completed. And then what happened was, it was very clear to me, because Hurts was so off in his accuracy, and this is coaching and this is smart, he took the ball out of his hands. He said, we're going to run the football.
Yes.
That's what we're going to do. That's called good coaching. You have to – was always my issue with Andy Reid when Donovan McNabb was inaccurate. You always have the run game to turn to. That's your other – you only have two options. You throw it or run it. He ran it. He said, that's it. We're running the football. And they ran it down their throats. And I think I wasn't charting the amount of 13 personnel.
Oh, there was a lot.
Right. Well, it's funny. I saw Tyree Jackson in there. Oh, it's like, here's our blocking receiver. I mean, tight end, Tyree Jackson, to take over for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I mentioned that, folks. If you missed the pregame show, I actually made it kind of a joke that they needed someone to replace J.J. Arcega-Whiteside as a wide receiver blocker, and that was Tyree Jackson.
That was Tyree Jackson. It was good to see him out there. It's always
it's great.
But you're right. Yeah, it's a lot of 13 personnel, a lot of run. I sort of agree with you, but where I am disappointed is that the first drive of the game, he comes out in the under center look, the 12 personnel under center, and Boston Scott gets 3 yards. I'm like, cool, this is it. This is what he's doing, right? And then the next 6 plays were all from the shotgun.
Yep.
So we talk about Hurts wasn't like feeling it early on. Well, and then you're right. And then after that, I think that when they got the ball back for the second drive, they started to go back a little bit more under center and run from there. And I just feel like, why didn't you work it the other way around? Why didn't you start off like you did against the Lions, under center, and work off play action, and then get your quarterback warm that way with a running game that's already starting to be downhill? Well, I thought he did what you said is, all right, my quarterback's not really on it right now. I'm going to go to my power running game. I thought he
third
did
series
it backwards.
Yep, third series.
I would have started out that way.
The first 2 series were awful. So it's called coaching. I guess he told the CBS sideline reporter Evan Washburn, right? He who talked to both coaches. He said, we're going to do whatever it takes to win. Well, we know it's going to take it. You're going to run the football because it's working for you. That's right. What coaches will tell you. I always get I always laugh when I would ask coaches, hey, well, why did you run the ball? It worked. Okay, I get it. It worked. I've learned my lesson to ask dumb questions when it's working. That's what they because it worked because the pass wasn't working. That's called coaching. I get it. And you said it earlier in a way. I don't know why they couldn't come out and try this because it worked incredibly well against Detroit. We said on the pregame show, why wouldn't you try to run this? The Chargers give up 5.1 yards per carry to running backs, worse than the National Football League to that position. Run the goddamn football. Excuse my language, but I have to say it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And then they started to do it. They did it well. I think that helped obviously helped move their offense. So for the first time, I thought you saw what we talked about earlier in the year about the lack of sequencing and patterning of an offense, right? Where you're running plays now so that the next set of plays are the same formation or the same concept, but a different look. And you started to see that. He would go under center, they would move the chains, and then it would be like 3rd and 3, and he would go shotgun. And now the defense is like, wait a minute, are they going to run or pass? Because they're running the ball really well now, whereas before you knew they were probably going to pass and tee off on the quarterback. And then you saw, just out of that, you saw also read option off the zone read runs, right? Then you saw keepers. So everything had a good flow and a good rhythm. I guess they had, at the end of the day, I'm trying to think how much total offense they wound up
Well, by the way,
over like 300 yards. So they did.
I got to jump in here.
Moving the ball. Yeah.
Okay. Any team that runs the ball 39 yards, 39 times cannot lose. It literally, you cannot lose. It's literally impossible. If you run the ball over 30 times, they ran it 39 times and still lost.
They did.
I wonder what the record is. 4.5
yards, by the way. It's hard to run the ball that many times and still average 4.5 yards. Although it's a little bit skewed from Jalen Hurts' runs, but yeah.
Right. But Jordan Howard was great. I mean, he looks really good. He looks just like he did in training camp. People laughed at us and said he should have been on the team.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they cut him. This is just me, my overview of what Sirianni wanted. I think he likes a certain type of back who's got versatility. That's not really Howard, although he can pass protect.
Right.
Sanders gets hurt. Howard's on the practice squad. They bring him up. He looks great, just like he did in training camp. He got in good physical shape. As you told me off the air about, this is the same guy had what yards per carry last year, 1.8, whatever the hell it was.
Well, yeah, I was like, it was less than 2 yards a carry. I know it was either 1.3 or 1.8. Okay. It's amazing.
Hey, look, he looks great. Good, nice story. Hurts ran the ball well when he ran it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's unbelievable. They had 3 players run the ball at least 10 times, and they still lost. I would love to know. I'm not going to look at Pro Football Reference right now, but I would love to know what the record is for a team losing the ball and running the ball over 35 times.
Right.
It's just hard to believe.
It probably doesn't happen very often. No.
No.
All right. I want to give you a stat and get your reaction to it. Okay. Good thing, bad thing, or neither. It just is what it is. All right. First, I'm going to tell everybody, download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB. Bet $1 on any NFL team to score in any NFL game, and you'll win $100 in free bets. That's all. Team has to score, and then you score with promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. So Jalen Hurts threw, Adam, for 162 yards, okay?
Mm-hmm.
159 of those 162 went to Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Is that a good thing, a bad thing, or just that's fine? It is what it is. You make nothing of it.
We only had 11 completions. So, I mean, I wanted – there were certain things we talked about in the pregame show I wanted to see. We didn't really see it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they missed the deep ball to Goddard. We'll find out what the truth was in that play, what should have happened. Other than
he missed the deep ball to Goddard, perhaps. And then, of course, Devontae Smith before the half, he kind of –
try one to walk – I mean, Quez.
In the end zone. On the could have been
a
touchdown.
The corner. Yeah, that had to be completed.
Is it a good thing where he was throwing off the back foot because the pressure was through the middle?
Bad.
Back up.
You can't do the back pedal. You'd mentioned that. Didn't we see that? I remember you pointed that out on tape study earlier in the season.
Yeah, mid-September.
Right, he was shuffling. Is it? Well, no. Here's the thing, and let me say this about Hurts. I was to say that I was displeased with the way he looked to start the game. His inaccuracy it's an understatement, but I got to give him credit. When it mattered, he brought the team back. That's important. He also doesn't turn the ball over. So there's some positives with him. They lost the game, but you give yourself a chance. We saw last year with Wentz. You kill your football team when you continually turn the ball over. This guy doesn't turn the ball over. Now, is he too safe of a passer sometimes? I think so. That's why he'll roll right. He rolls out when he shouldn't roll out, and then he'll throw it out of bounds. And we've seen this in training camp, and if some of our listeners would point that out, it would bother them. And I noticed on our message boards they would point that out, and it's certainly true. But he's not turning it over. And despite his awful start to the game, he when it mattered, he brought the team back. That's a sure test of character there. His toughness.
Yeah, he made some really nice throws on that drive that ended with the Gainwell touchdown. I mean, he hit Devontae Smith for 23, and then he came right back to him for 19 across the middle. Yeah, no, he made some really – I thought he made his nicest throws on first and second down, and on third down, he used his legs more. Some of it was designed. Some of it was just, I'm getting out because the pass rusher's getting on me. So I don't know if that's – I would love to know in this game, like, if he was off script okay for the percentage they want him to, or if it was a little bit too much. I don't know. I'm sure the coaching staff will talk about it a little bit, but I just think it's weird that 99% of his receiving yards went to two guys. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad or what to make of it. It's probably not going to happen very often.
Right. He only had 11 attempts. They ran the hell out of it. It kept him in the game.
Right.
I mean, I know there's varying ideas of whether this is a good thing or bad thing. When your quarterback is this inaccurate early to start the game, take the ball out of his hands, I got no problem with it. That's called coaching.
Yeah.
This, as I said earlier, this used to bother the heck out of me with Andy Reid. As much as I love the pass game, but the problem is, though, when you run the ball this much, what you're doing is generally you want ball control. You're trying to ball control, keep it from the other quarterback, and win with defense. The problem is we'll get to the defense in a minute. I'm pretty much done with the offense here, but I just thought that Hurts did a great job of bringing the team back. 162 yards generally won't get it done, but again, they ran it 39 times. 30.
They did.
And let me give you one other stat that this is another incredible stat when you look at how in the hell could you run the ball 39 times but only possess it 26-23? I think that's like talk about a statistical anomaly. How can that happen? They had the ball 7 more minutes. I just don't understand how it can happen.
Well, it does fold in a little bit to the defense. The biggest thing the defense did was you had 2 4th down stops, because if those 4th down stops don't happen, and that's 14 extra points, this game's totally different type of game.
Yeah.
All right, last thing on this offense is that it's been pretty amazing to watch them just line it up and ram it down the throats of the Lions and even the Chargers, who have the league's worst run defense. But if this is how it's going to be for the next until the rest of the year, they're going to try to run the ball 35 to 40 times a game. It's probably not good for the future. Like it's probably not a great thing in the long term. Like you don't want to see that's not how offense is in 2021.
Well, how you develop.
Right. Or how you develop anybody, your passing game, your receivers. Like if you're Jalen Reagor right now, you had 0 targets. I mean,
well, that was it. That's why I want to add. Like I wanted more shot plays. Like if you're running the ball so well, at some point they're going to have to. And again, we don't have access to the coaching tape Monday morning here, but we'll find out when we drop the show Wednesday morning. Were there opportunities to take shots and they decide not to take it? I mean, if you look at the play calling, clearly they didn't want Hurts throwing the ball out. I understand that, but that doesn't mean as this first half goes along, okay, you're running the ball like great. There had to be opportunities to take shots. Had to be.
Maybe, but again, if you're only throwing the ball, as you mentioned, 17 times,
take it out.
You're limiting yourself that point to
some
take
point.
A lot of shots. Yeah,
a couple of those runs they could have been deep shots. There had to be there when you're running this well. You're going to have opportunities to throw off that. That's the thing that was puzzling to me. But overall, the fact that they hung in there and they ran the heck out of it was Jordan Howard. I mean, we're having like a renaissance here. It's like, whoa, what's going on with this guy? But hey, it worked.
That's right. Hey, Eagles fans have been crying for run. They're getting run.
Can't complain about it.
Well, we'll see if that eventually leads to wins once in a while here. It did last week, not this game. We'll see. All right, let's go through the defense. First, I want to tell everybody about our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. Please make sure you're checking them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. Let's pause real quick for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you stop into Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You'll get not a great deal, the best deal that you can get.
Yep.
All right. Eagles defense. So my biggest issue that's not coaching related, I don't think it's coaching related because we'll get into some things, is that you hinted at it before when you said Javon Hargrave didn't do anything. So Gannon mixed his stuff. Sometimes he was playing some zone. Sometimes he played some man. Sometimes he blitzed. He even had a corner blitz. How about that? Steven Nelson with a corner blitz, and then he gets a late hit, right?
Yeah.
There were times when you're playing that zone, though, that you think you're going to get you need pressure from your front four. They did not get. We talked in the pregame show about the right side of the Chargers offensive line of Mark Schofield and Storm Norton. I thought for sure that guys like Josh Sweat and Barnett and Fletcher and Hargrave were going to get some pressure. Do you know that the Steven Nelson hit on the quarterback Herbert was the only hit he took all day?
Well, actually, exactly right. Well, he got credit with a hit. Yeah,
late one.
And Davion Taylor got the one tackle for the loss, but it was
right.
The fact they only gave up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. I meant from a passer, that the only hit.
Yeah, it was bad. Look, they didn't touch him. There's a bad defensive performance. I'm shocked they only gave him 27, and it's felt like worse than that. Because, as you said earlier, they really were bending. I mean, in a major way, but they didn't break. Somehow they came up with stops. That's no way to coach defense. You're living dangerously. It's not going to work. We all know that.
Right.
I know that there are some challenges they have at linebacker. I'm being nice. Safety's got to be better. Although Epps has been a nice story lately. We'll see what this tape looked like. I just know that he's played better than he had before. But overall, the fact that they didn't touch Herbert and this idea that somehow you could give up these kind of numbers against a quarterback and think like this is good. No, I heard Sirianni's press conference. I know he's careful to criticize Gannon. It's his close friend. I understand that. But he took risk. Hey, if this happens, it's on me, and that's fine. But this has just got to stop. And here's the other thing: if you're going to just give a free release to these receivers, why even have cornerbacks? I mean, this is absurd. This is absurd. You made Justin Herbert look like a Hall of Famer. I mean, could you at least press? Keenan Allen's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, right? We know what he's going to do. He's a possession receiver. He's not going deep. Could you just disrupt his timing a little bit every once in a while? Is it possible?
I mean, I got to say, though, the big pass that he caught, the 3rd and 9, where he got 8.5 on to set up the sneak in the fourth quarter, TJ Edwards lit him up. He held on to the ball. But you're right. In general, it did seem quite easy for him in the flats, especially. In fact, there was one play, this has nothing to do with Keenan Allen, but to your point about soft coverage, where Darius Slay left and McPherson comes in to replace him. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. McPherson has not played at all this year, I don't think, at corner, outside corner. And Justin Herbert can't miss right now. And there was a second down, where McPherson was given, I wasn't Palmer. Who was it? Palmer, like 15 yards of cushion.
Josh Palmer. Yeah.
And right from the snap, you saw it was right there. Justin Herbert says, fine, I'm throwing right there. And he threw it like 5 yards wide of him. No, he missed him, though. That was the funny thing. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. It was like, oh my God, he missed the pass.
But he had the 15-yard completion, which was really nice. Guyton got him, who's one of their deep threats. Keenan Allen just they didn't touch him. I mean, think about it. Targeted 13 times, 12 receptions. That's terrible.
And then Mike Williams got him. Unbelievable catch.
Yeah, and plus he drew a penalty, big penalty. I knew this was going to happen. I had a reverse jinx. I talked about Donald Parham in the red zone. That's where I saw in training camp. He's too big, 6'8", and that's exactly what happened. And that's Steven Anderson. This guy's got to be 300 years old. This guy's been around forever.
Yep.
Oh.
Well, if you want to know where the game was lost, in my opinion, like the coverage breakdowns, Jared Cook 4 for 48, Steven Anderson 4 of 39, and Parham Jr. 3 for 39. That's 11 catches for my quick math tells me 86 yards. Is that right?
Good, man.
No, I'm sorry, way more than 86 yards. 106 yards to tight ends. None of these guys are elite tight ends either. Jared Cook's good. He's not elite. And as you mentioned, Anderson and Parham are just like, they're matchup kind of guys. You use them at certain times. I mean, come on. I mean
Steven Anderson was a receiver in college who, to every team he's with the Texans, the Patriots, and the Chargers are trying to make him a tight end. He's like 6'3" and like 220.
Right.
But he's an athlete. I get it. I got to give Joe Lombardi credit. He took advantage of what the Eagles defense presented, which was off coverage.
Right.
Even when they played one high, they gave up too much room. I was told by personal source who happened to be at the game. It's just
136 yards to those tight ends is just too much. That's
terrible. Too much room. Yeah, but yet all the negativity we're spewing here, they had a chance to win the game. That's the crazy of this game was like nothing makes sense. They ran the ball 39 times. You cannot lose. They found a way to lose.
Right.
You mentioned yet another game where the receivers, like the misaligned statistics of only 4 guys caught balls. Only 4 people were targeted. Only 4 guys caught balls. It's so strange, but yet But yeah, it was right there to win.
I mean, if you're Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins, you're like, do I get to play?
I mean, Quez,
and you're right. If they allow Justin Herbert to only complete 70% of his passes, that's still a great day for Justin Herbert, and the Eagles win probably. Just 70%.
And you know what sucks for the Eagles' run defense, right? They're doing a good job for a majority of the game, but when it really mattered, they couldn't get Eckler off. They couldn't stop him. Yeah. And then, I got to mention it. I'd be remiss. I don't know what the record is for bad Derek Barnett penalties, but he had yet another one. The offside is embarrassing. It's 3rd and 6. It's a 3rd and 6. You've got him. Makes it 3rd and 1. You just can't do this stuff. You just can't. It's totally unacceptable. They're not in a position to bench the guy. They can't. They don't have anybody else. It can't happen, but it does.
Yeah. There are about 5 plays that if 2 of them go differently, the Eagles might win that game. By the way, I think Justin Herbert also shows you there was an RPO in the first quarter that he ran. It was really nice with Keenan Allen and they replay. You saw him throw the out before Allen had even come out of his break.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome timing and anticipation throw. That's really good. That's poetry type stuff that I like to see.
We talked about this in our pregame show, folks. If you haven't seen it, Cosell talked about the evolution of Herbert, where he came in. We talked about this. He came in as a guy who was a seat and throw guy like Dak at Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
And his evolution is he's now an anticipation thrower somewhat, and he's also a timing guy.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when you accept coaching and you want it. You want to be better, and he's become better. And the Dolphins didn't want him. They wanted Tua. It's turned out to be a dreadful mistake. It's amazing when you miss on a quarterback how it changes the franchise's fortunes. I mean, it's something the Dolphins are going to have a hard time getting over. Look how bad they are.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And look at the Eagles. I mean, if Jalen Hurts does not wind up being their future quarterback, they'll be on their 1, 2, 3. That would be 3. I mean, if you go back to even before Carson Wentz, right? Like you could say like 5 and 8 years. That's no way to be a stable franchise either.
Yeah, so, got to get it right.
I mean, Bradford and Mark Sanchez and Nick Foles, and there's a lot of names starting to.
Well, Sanchez was never.
I know those guys are backups.
Right. Or the immortal. I think we've mentioned this guy maybe twice in 4 years. Matt McGloin.
Matt McGloin. He was on the Eagles.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a I don't want to
training camp, right? Training camp.
Yeah. We'll say he came in here in 16. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. Yeah. It didn't end well for him.
Right. Wasn't that guy also in the AFL? No, not the AFL. What's the other?
Yes, the AAF. Yeah.
The AAF. And I remember at halftime of a game, he ripped his coaches.
Yeah. You got it. You took it right out of my mouth, brother. You remember that. I'll never forget it. I knew one of the coaches on that staff, and we were texting it to say that it was not pleasant with it wasn't pleasant. I'll say that.
I'm sure. No, wait, that was XFL, wasn't it?
But anyway.
It was actually XFL, right?
Yeah, XFL. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's what it.
The autocorrect would, when I would type his name in text, it would say McGroin. So I used to go Matt McGroin, but anyway, it is amazing. From all the Eagle quarterbacks, starting with the immortal Andy Hall from Delaware, UD,
right,
to just some of the guys they brought in here for summers. I mean, there's some great ones, man, over time.
I was getting a kick out of. I don't do this a whole lot, but I had to on Thursday night, getting a kick out of seeing how Eagles Twitter was going to react to Carson Wentz's game against the Jets.
Oh, and they kept him in to the
end. They don't care. That's their quarterback for this year and for next year.
Look, it's despite what the public thinks. Cosell broke it down for us. That yes, the Titans game, he made 2 bonehead plays left over from last year. Overall, he's played really well. Like he
makes mistakes, but he's playing really well.
He's playing at a very high level. Is he? I don't know if he'll ever get to 17's level, which was elite, but he is playing really good winning football. He can't control how bad their defense was and how the defense has not played the level. But anyway, that's another team. Overall, Gannon's got to do a better job. I mean, just to finish this defense off here. I'm just looking at any other leftovers here. I mean, look, the lack of disguise is. Look, I know he tried a couple things. Problem is when your corners aren't pressing and this is the problem I have with Gannon. Okay. It's not working. You're giving the receivers a free release. Okay, do something about it. You have the opportunity. The game's not over. You have something. You have the ability to change that, and he doesn't do it.
Why do you think he doesn't do it?
I don't know. I'm just
Jim
talking what
Schwartz
we
gave guys releases too. I'm just wondering if maybe
I don't know.
I mean, is it a pick your poison thing?
Slay's a good player. Slay got a hamstring.
No, I know Slay is good, but if you put Nelson up a tight,
he's physical.
He's physical, but he's not fast either.
I get it.
You can
disrupt him. You can disrupt him.
You could. I
don't know.
That's certainly not. It's not what they do in Indianapolis, right? They play very, very soft, and that's what Eberflus does. He plays a lot of that soft Tampa too, right?
But he does some disguise. But anyway, I don't know. I'm throwing my hands up here. I don't know what to think. But yet again, despite all of this, somehow it's like a Festivus miracle. They had a chance to win. The defense could not get off the field when it mattered. Once again, this is I know it's growing pains. I'm trying to learn something about this. Since we started the show, it's our first new staff. So we're trying to learn as we go here. And I get it. It's growing pains. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. But, people tell me how smart Gannon is. Well, I don't doubt that he's a smart guy. But I'd like to know, is he coaching to limitations of the personality he has, or is this just what he believes? Well, if it's what he believes, it's not working. You got to try something else.
I know, but that's where I'm conflicted, because he's doing different things now than he did for the first 4 weeks, and they've gotten better in certain areas, but they're not good enough. So when I see someone try different things and still get the same result for the most part, then I think then he doesn't have what he needs. And I think that we already knew he has very substandard linebacker, most corner safety. That's not a good back end of the defense. What are you going to do?
Yeah, Cosell talked about it on our show. He in our pregame. He did mention. He said that was what you just said was something he mentioned. He thinks that's probably the issue. Yeah, maybe so, but I mean, this is ridiculous with these quarterbacks. I mean, Justin Herbert's a very good player. But
who's the linebacker? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's who's the linebacker who used to be a safety that was for the Chargers there? What's his last name? It's got a funny
Kaiser White. Kaiser White.
I paid a lot of attention to him. You know what? He's pretty. He gets his body going downhill. Just the snap is going, so that he can meet you at the point of contact with some flair behind him, with some torque, and he can try to get you up on the snap count a little bit. It's like having an extra guy at scrimmage, even though he's not at scrimmage, and he also can chase you down. And I don't know where he was drafted. I don't even honestly. I had not heard much of Kaiser White until we started preparing for this game. But I thought
he was a fourth rounder in 18.
Okay, so that I thought as even with as better as TJ Edwards has been for them than Eric Wilson, like they don't do that. They don't get themselves flowing that fast right before the snap and get in there and make destructive plays. They
don't have that. And Davion Taylor, I need to find out. Just one thing before we get out of here. I need to find out the last play. Obviously, when the Chargers clinched, on the fourth down, you saw they moved Keenan Allen in motion. He moved with them. Now I can't blame Taylor on that one because we don't know if they're playing man or not. I don't know if that was his responsibility. Right. They took him out of the box, and Milt Williams got turned. He was a big reason why they didn't stop the run on that play. If you watch I slowed it down. You could clearly see he got turned. He just got taken out of the play. Right. It's that can't happen. But again, all these chances, man, they were in it. They competed. Okay, they competed. It sucks, as you said, that they can't win at home. Jesus.
Yeah, I feel bad for the fans, Yeah, I mean, at least give them a good. Every once in a while, win a game at home to make it not good for the fans, right?
Well, they got Washington and the Giants at home, and Dallas too, right? Yeah. Oh boy.
Right.
Oh boy.
Right. So Javon Hargrave has 6 sacks. After that, Sweat has 3.5. Ridgeway has 2. Barnett 1. Teron Jackson 1. Milton Williams 1. Fletcher Cox 1. Who's Edwards? Oh yeah, TJ Edwards 1. I mean, this is almost impossible to comprehend from this front four and this defense that one guy would have 6 sacks and nobody else has more than 3.5. Even at even in their worst day, even last year where they really struggled under Schwartz. Yeah. I mean, Josh Sweat had 6. Fletch had 5.5.
This defense doesn't help them. This front, they're not. We said it all season. They've not taken to this front. We know how Cox feels about it.
Right.
It's an off-season adjustment. If by chance Cox is with the football team next season, They're going to have to do something with his front to help him. Sweat is way better than he's showing. There's no question about that. Playing the 4 eyes not easy. They're just going to have to. This is obviously an offseason assignment for Gannon and his staff to figure out how they're going to get these guys better. And we know personnel's got to be improved at linebacker. We were laughing on the pregame show about this. Like, it's an offseason conversation with the general manager and the head coach and D coordinator about what the philosophy is. It ever going to change at linebacker? I think it has to. I think you're doing the coaches a disservice. As much criticism we give Gannon.
Yeah.
I like it to be where you give him what he wants, and if he doesn't do it, then it's free reign.
Right.
We've been hard on him because it doesn't look good. But as you said, if you give him better football players, let's see how much better he can be.
Absolutely. All right, just real quick. Last year they averaged 3 sacks a game. This year under 2 sacks per game so far. 17 in 9 games.
Their D line. Yeah, their D line led the NFL in sacks last year.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. So big drop off there. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. A big thanks, as always, to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads, and his website is called broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.